You know, it's funny because Groupie Doll's exact same situation. Broke her track record. They're saying she's lost a step. Fort Lawrence lost a step. Dale said. But the trainers aren't saying that.
You know, I can tell you that this horse was training really good. And I take some of the blame for what happened in that race because I did not work him from the Woodbine race to the Keeneland race. And I just thought as fast as he ran and as hard as he'd been training all summer that I could take it easy on him. And he didn't have a work in between. So, I mean, it may have been a factor. Mr. Fink doesn't think so. Mr. Fink thinks that horse hitting him into the first turn and driving him all the way on the outside and then putting him on the engine. Look, he's trying to rear up and strike it rock. Trying to put his foot over there, isn't he? Let me fix that blanket. I'll watch it go around. Because it will slide over there. Yeah, I like what I just saw. That's good.
But that's got to be such a fine line when you've got another objective in mind this race to not wanting to do too much with them before a race and trying to decide what's enough and what's not too much.
Yeah. Well, I mean that was the whole plan about the Shadwell, is that I thought the Shadwell would be a stepping stone for this race. It would be a workout for this race, and basically it was a paid workout, even though we didn't win. I wouldn't have had to work him as many times, and he's such a fast workhorse. I mean, you saw how we worked him the other day. His internal fractions were 11 and change, 11 and change, 11 and change. And the other morning we just let him go down the lane a little bit. We got the last quarter like in 23, and then we just let him run down the lane a little bit. So he should be off of that race and the work that he had and the strong gallop that he had the other day. He should be in good shape. You all right?
Make me nervous, but God,
Yeah, you bet. He'll be on his toes. We maybe should have taken him to the track today, but that's all right. He had a long trip.
Will you guys go to the turf?
I think so. Yeah, I think that's what we did last year. We turfed him on Thursday, and then we jogged him on Friday. Well, we paddock schooled him on Thursday, jogged him Friday, and then ran him Saturday. Yeah.
You must like the post, I'm thinking.
I really like the post because I know from what Dale said his horse is going. We know obviously that's the way he wants to run. So yeah, I do like that post. And I texted Johnny right afterward and asked him what he thought, and he said the same thing. You know, it ought to set up pretty good for us.
So you don't think he's lost a step? You're just saying you've heard fans think he's lost a step.
I don't think
Whoa! Oh!
Hey! You think he's lost a step?
That's like he heard you.
It is like he heard me. Sorry, Dan.
That was awesome. Oh, they're calling on Thursday.
Well, that tells you right there, he answered your question. I didn't have to answer your question.
Behave yourself, Dan.
I just heard people starting to say that, well, he's a year older, maybe he lost a step.
Sure.
I went over to that deal they had last night, and a few people were saying that people were saying that. And I try not to listen to what they say. You know, a lot of people said that I should have run him in the Classic. Well, I'm going to keep him where I think he's got the best shot to win, and that's where it is. And it probably, I mean, he ran really good on synthetic, but that was a different synthetic that he ran over at Keeneland. Now, I can tell you, in all fairness, Silver Max had to run over the same racetrack, and he ran well, but Dale was right beside me saddling, and Dale was just livid that he had to run on a synthetic track that his horse never ran on, and look at the way he ran. So you don't ever know until you try. I couldn't tell you that he wouldn't run over the track with the water stand on. The only way I was going to know was to run him, and he did run over it. I mean, it's not like he got distance and he finished last, or, I mean, he got beat a length and a quarter, and he just ran against a horse that got loose on the front end, and it didn't come back to him. Yeah. And usually most of his races, they come back to him.
And he still hasn't lost on turf in, what, 2 years now?
That's right, yeah. Yeah.
Well, anybody who's
and
in
if
against
you remember,
him.
And if you remember, his Stephen Foster race was kind of the same way that night. He was all the way on the outside. He was on the bridle, off the bridle, head kind of out like that, fighting the racetrack. and then Nate Mineshaft was all over him down the stretch, and I mean he got beat a little bit less, but still. And then he came back and look what he did. And this horse trained really good. If anybody saw him at Saratoga this year, he trained really good on the dirt up there, really good. I mean, he could have been one to run in the Whitney, I can tell you, because that's how good he was going into those races.